So the first part of to work with budgets is to find out on your app where about is budgets situated. Where is that command? Right. So here, if you look at edit, the tab edit, and when you open that tab edit, you're going to find general ledger. Then you're going to find the accounts, those accounts that you created. You remember using them, right? And below that, if you recall, we talked about that we will come back to budgets, and now we are here at the section of budgets. So there's budgets here. So let's recap again. We'll go to edit, and we go to general ledger, and below accounts is budgets. Are we good? Right? Got that now? And we can now click on budgets. The moment you clicked on budgets, you're waiting for it now, you're going to find the budget assistant appears. And the budget assistant has various options. Let's look at them before we proceed with the question. The first one says copy or overwrite current budget or next year's budget values with actuals and other budget values, optionally adjusting and or rounding the value at the same time. That's an option. So this one is used, this radio button, this option here is used when you need to take work that has already been done and you copy it over and you make the necessary adjustments. That's the first one. And the word copy, and also it's sometimes used create. They sometimes use the word create in an examination question paper. If you're going to use this radio button, this option here. The second one is purely an adjustment with a percentage and or rounding off to the nearest 10, 100,000, whatever it is. The third option here is when you enter or change, edit individual account balances. When you enter account balances. And the last one is make a printout of that work, of the budgets that you have worked with. Okay? So when you look at this page 7, this particular question here, it tells you use the budget assistant to compile a budget of income and expenses for the month ended 30th of June 2022, which is period 2 of this year. Now that's an important month, year, and date that we need to consider. Very important information there. Let's recap. Our periods for this year started in May, right? If you want to look at page 6, you're going to find there only set up period 1, 1st of May to 31st of May. So period 1 is May, hence period 2 will be June of 2022. And you must now enter the budgeted amounts for period 2 of this year. You have to follow the instructions as stated on the question paper. So the word that's stated there gives us the hint, enter. So you know, in terms of your options to choose, you will go for the third one, where it specifies enter and or edit. So we're going to use the third radio button. And then you're going to select next, right? You need to be focusing and concentrating at the work, and then it'll stay in the mind. Next, you need to make an important decision here on whether it's going to be the current budget or next year's budget. That's the important date. Okay, now you're guided by your question paper. You are guided by your question paper to read your question paper, and you will realize that June 2022 is the current year. So your selection is going to be the first radio button there. Okay. So another point that you need to pick up from the question, it says period 2 of this year. So that is your hint. When you focus on the work, you're going to empower yourself. You're going to learn, you're going to understand that these are the words. Your brain, your mind will pick up these importance and make decisions accordingly. So you're going to choose current year. And then you're going to choose next year, because current year is this year. Sorry, I meant next. You're going to choose next. If you choose the incorrect period, you're going to end up with issues and problems. So make sure that you choose the current year budget as it's stated this year, period 2. And you're going to click next. Now here, it's requesting of you to select the range of accounts that you need to select. So the accounts start from account 001 and to account 999, which means all accounts. But you are governed again by the question paper. In our question paper, it says from services to advertising. You and I know that services rendered and commission received and sundry income and rent income, printing and stationery, water and electricity, all those form part of the statement of comprehensive income. In other words, the income and expenses portion. So you need to open this, get into this box here, and where you've got the magnifying glass or the search glass, search tool, you click on it and you select services rendered being the first one there. And you choose, you click on enter. So immediately account number 2000, which you know 2000 is for services rendered, click enter. Then you're going to say to account. Where does it end? You will click on here and you're now going to select the last account as stated on the question paper. In this case, it is advertising, which is really the last of the expenses. So you've got from other income right up to expenses, and you're going to click choose enter. Now you'll find that your selection is stated here, 2,000 to 3,700. And then you're going to choose next. Are we okay with this here so far? We're going to choose next. Ignore this percentages here because we don't really use this percentage. And you're going to click on next. And now you'll find the first account that you selected appears. Now you capture the amount as stated on the question paper, 300,154. 300,154. So you type in 300,154. You then will click on enter. But you need to make sure that although you clicked on enter, you must make sure that your cursor comes one down, and then you're going to see something very important will happen here under the total section. When I'm going to click enter, do you see that total, that amount that was there gets added to the bottom here? And then you're going to click save. So I've got my period here correctly entered. In period 2, I'm going to click save. My next account comes in, which is commission received. And there you will enter in June again, which is the second period, 38,029. Enter button, and then you've got your total there. If you do not come below, your work will be incorrect. It will not accept your work. It'll be hanging. So make sure you go one down with the result, your total is there. And then you're going to click save. We now move to the next one, which is sundry income. And how much is that? 53,523 as stated on the question paper. We go down and save. Are you now picking up and understanding how we are working with the section here? Rent income 13,166. Enter, and we're going down. And here it is. The next one is printing and stationery. Make sure you are on period 2, 18,890. And you click save. So once you're familiar with the first one, the pattern is the same. You'll put the amounts in the period 2, which is June, and you will make sure that you enter by going one below and click save. The next one is 78,465. Press enter, and then you click save. Business insurance is 21,720. Click enter and save. The next one is telephone, which is 7,930, and you click enter and save. You need to be mindful that a quick check on the account, courier and postage, is the same as your question paper, and you go to June 8310, press enter, and then I'm coming to the last one, advertising, 16,180, and I'm done now. Before I click on save, is there anything now that you are uncomfortable with? You don't understand the capturing? You are entering here and you click save. Can I move on? Are you okay? You have now successfully captured all the accounts with the amounts that stated on the question paper. All of them have been captured. You now look at the next part, which says round off all income to the nearest 10 rands. So I'm going to click on next, and I'm going to now come back to start. And here I will select the second radio button because I need to adjust. I need to round off if there's a need to, or adjust with a percentage, 1.2.3 cents. Round off all income to the nearest 10 rands. So I'm going to now choose adjust, and I'm going to click next. The current year again appears as default because we had used it. Click next, and then you look at your range. Now be very careful here. The range, although it starts from 2000, it also ends at 3700, and we don't want the entire range to be changed by 10 rands. We have to now click on here where it says to account. Click on here and stop at 2,600, which is the rent income. So in other words, the computer has now seen via you the selection of from 2000 to 2600. So it will then, because it's programmed, it will then only focus on those accounts. and you're going to click next. Here you have adjust, which is a percentage, round only, which is an amount, and adjust and round. In our case, we only going to select the second radio button, which is round only, and you will find that the percentage is grayed out, round value. You click into here and you select the rounding figure that's stated on the question paper. In this case, the amount is 10 rands. So let's get this right again. One more time. You go back and you selected the correct range, only the income, nothing else. And you then clicked on next, you rounded to 10 rands, click next, and you're about to round off budgets to 10 rands, but you and I know it's merely the income amount, and you click process. And then you get back to start. You have completed the rounding off part of this question paper. The instruction has been complied with. To show you, let us now, to see what we have done, let us look at the printout of the budgets. And let's look at next. Okay, we now do our selections for the entire budget. And when I meant the entire budget, I mean from the account 2000, which is the income, to the expenses. Click on, it's gone to screen here. We don't need to change it to Excel. We don't need to change it to printer. Leave it by default to screen. It's the best option. Click on OK. And here is the work that we have captured and also rounded off. Now, when you look at this figure here of services rendered, you captured 300,154. But because you said round off to the nearest 10 rands, it then rounded down to 300,150. In the same way, the 38,029, because it was 05 and over, it then rounded off to the nearest 10 rand, which becomes 38,030. The same thing happened with 53,520. It was 53,523. Now, I want to take you to salaries and wages. You notice that salaries and wages is the same figure as captured by us. Because when we did our selection, we did not select expenses to be rounded off as per the instructions of the question paper. It says only income. So you will find that the salaries and wages remain unchanged, which is correct. We're now going to close this now. If you need to print this, remember now, you'll click print and then you will click on print. I'm not printing now, so I'm going to cancel. And here is the first part of what we've done. Now comes the next part. And this is now where you need to apply your mind before you get your 17 marks. It's crucial that you understand what I'm going to now explain. The second part of this budget tells you now, in terms of adjusting or rounding off, it tells you adjust all your expenses by 11% and round off the expenses to the nearest 100 rands. Although it's not stated expenses, you know they're specifying expenses. So you must adjust by 11% and you're going to round off to the nearest 100 rands. So I need you to be focusing now, concentrating on how we're going to do this. You will certainly select the second radio button, like we've done for the rounding off of 10 rand, because this adjusts and round. We then choose next. We are on default, the current year, which is correct. and we're going to choose next. So let's go again. You do understand that you choose adjust and round because that's our instructions 1.2.4. You need to be very clear now and understand what I'm doing, focusing. You need to concentrate. Next, and I put current budget, and now comes the range. You will find that the old range that we worked on appears, but we want expenses. Now, here is the most important point that I need you to understand. I really need you to put this into your memory box. Please understand what I'm going to tell you now. You cannot select from account printing and stationery to account expenses. Although it tells you all expenses, you cannot just proceed and select the way you did it for rounding off all income. You cannot do it. Now let me tell you why. Pastel will not do two changes using the same method. So for the first one, we chose the accounts from 2000 to 2600. Do you recall? For this next one, you cannot do the same. So now you have that option. You will choose financial category if you so wish, and you click on financial category, and now you will choose the expenses. To financial category, the expenses. So now you have instructed your computer, the app Pastel, to select only the expenses. So I'm going back again. You do not use account. You don't use account. You don't need to use that. You will choose financial category. So you may put down the range. You may put the range. It doesn't really matter here. Of 3,000, it really doesn't matter to 3,700. But your important thing is to choose the financial category and make sure that you select expenses and your financial category expenses here from expenses to expenses. And you click next. And now you are familiar with this here. It gives you the options of what would you like to adjust or round. We want to adjust and round simultaneously. Percentage here is 11% and round off to the nearest 100 rands. So we have selected, reminder, we have selected just the expenses. And we have now stated that it's going to be adjusted by 11% and value of 100 rands. Click next, and it tells you you are about to adjust the budgets, but you and I know that we have selected in the financial category just the expenses. Are you with me? Let me repeat here to show you what I'm talking about. We selected the financial category expenses. Now you're going to click next, right? You're going to click next and you're about to process, and here it is. It's done for you. It's an assistant. Now let us go to make a printout. Click next, and you now have to select all your accounts from income to expenses, right? By default, it's already there, but be mindful and check. and you know your budget. Look at this here. The budget is this year and not last year or next year. It is this year's budget. Remember, we worked at period 2. Printing to screen as by default. Click OK. And now we're going to look at the figures. Now, here it is, what I was talking about. You will find that the figure, first of all, that you have captured and you have changed is on June, because period 2. May was period 1, you recall, that's a 0. And then the total, you recall when we went 1 down, appears here. You will notice that this figure has remained intact with the rounding off of 10 rands. However, the expenses have been changed by 11% and rounded off to the nearest 100 rands. So I'm going to show you what, by way of example, on your keyboard, you're going to find the function button F9. That allows you to use the facility of a calculator, the onboard calculator. I'm now going to type in the figure of the printing and stationery. It was 18,890. Remember, you increased it by 11%. Are you with me? So you're going to multiply it by 111%. And you're going to click equals to, that amount comes to 20,967 rands and 90 cents. Remember, you also said round off to the nearest 100 rands. So that becomes 21,000, because 67 rands is over 50 rands. And now 21,000, and you will look here, there's your 21,000. Are you following me, guys? Right? And you will be able to, if you want to check, the rest are all accurate. And then you just print and you are done, and you will get yourself 17 marks. I want to now show you something important. Let us assume that we use this feature incorrectly. Look at what's going to happen now. I'm going to click on adjust and round, click next, current year, next. I'm going to choose the account from 2000, and I'm going to now here to the income. You remember we did that previously? Are you with me? Right? Or we can even use the financial category. We'll come to it just now. Click next, and you're going to now just round off to the nearest 10 rand. You remember? Click next, process, and go back to start, just to show you the printout here. Here it is, and it has done exactly what we have instructed to do. It's rounded off, right? Now let's do close, and I'm going to show you something, just or round. Let me do now the following for you. Let us now take this here and just select the expenses as stated. So I'm using from account. I'm using the wrong selection, the wrong choice. And we're going to now end here to expenses. Are you following me? Right? So I've chosen all my expenses. Click next, and I'm going to adjust and round by 11%. Are you following me? And 100 rands. Click next. Right? Done. Process. Let's see what happens now. Let us see what happens when we did our work in that way. You will notice the first thing that comes to your mind is that the services rendered has been increased by 11%. Hence, This is wrong. This is totally wrong. In short, the method I taught you is the way you're going to use now. You're going to choose accounts for the first part, change income on its own, and when it comes to expenses, you will then choose the financial category. So it then will change. Just the financial category. In this case, it was expenses by 11. It will not interfere with your income. Are we clear? Do you have any questions for me to clarify your uncertainty? Would you be happy now to comment with your